Hi guys! Welcome to another book talk with Livingston Parish Library. My name is Danielle. I am the Youth Services Manager at the Denham Springs Walker Branch. And today I am very excited to bring you one of my favorite aspects of fantasy in general, which is royalty. Most fantasy books have royalty in them. They have some type of court system. They have the royal family. You may see it a lot or you may see it only like behind the scenes. But today I wanted to talk about books that really focus on court politics and the court system and princesses and kings and queens and all the dynamics that go into royalty and the court systems. And I just really wanted to focus on what it means to be a royal in a fantasy world, which is pretty difficult. So the first book for today is one that I really enjoyed. It's definitely a genre-bending type of book. It seemed very fresh and new in the YA fantasy setting. It's called Mirage by Samaya Dowd. So in Mirage, the entire star system is dominated by this brutal empire called the Vitex. And our main character, Amani, is a dreamer living in this terrible empire. But one day at this special ceremony for Amani's people, the royal army comes and they end up taking Amani and kidnapping her, and she has no idea why. Well, it turns out when she gets to the royal court, which is the place that she fears above all else, she realizes that she is an exact mirror image of the emperor's daughter, Princess Miran. Princess Miran is not a nice princess. In fact, she is so hated by the people of the empire that she needs a body double to act in her place in case anyone tries to kill her. And that's what Amani is there for. So Amani is forced to be Miran's body double, and it's made very clear that if she does not succeed and people do not believe her, then she will be murdered. So Amani is thrown into the court system and court politics, and the longer she's there, the longer she realizes that someone needs to act against the empire, and she may just be the person for that. I really enjoyed this book because it was such a cool blending of sci-fi and fantasy. So it's set in, this galactic empire, but then the sheer story of it and the court and all of that seems very fantasy themed. And the fantasy world is very much inspired by some of our own cultures in our world, which I always love. And it really shows what it means to be a non-royal person living in the court. I haven't seen the body double thing happen very often. It was, a fantasy inspired by cultures from our world. It was just very fun and enjoyable and just a different type of fantasy. The second one, A Court of Lions, is coming out in August of this year. So the next book on our list today is probably one of the most surprising reads for me. I didn't know if I was gonna like it this much, and it turns out I loved it. It is called Bring Me Their Hearts by Sarah Wolfe. Our main character, Zara, is a heartless, meaning she is an immortal soldier for a witch. So a witch has taken her heart and is keeping it so that she can stay alive forever and do the witch's bidding. Because in this kingdom, the royal family is at war with the witches. So one day, Zara's witch gives her a proposal. She will give Zara's heart back, which is the goal of every heartless, in exchange for the crown prince's heart. Because if the witches have the prince's heart, then they could possibly stop the war between the royal family and the witches. So Zara agrees to get the prince's heart in exchange for her own, so she disguises herself as a long-lost lady and infiltrates the court. But it turns out that the prince, who she's supposed to be getting his heart, actually hates the court just as much as she does. And he is super intrigued with this very unelegant, sassy-mouthed new lady of the court, Zara. This book was so refreshing in the YA fantasy genre. It was a very different premise than you normally see. It had a great example of like a court system, court politics, court intrigue, along with the kind of covert spy, type of thing as well. It was just so much fun. I recommend this book all the time for people looking for fantasy. If you like a strong, sassy female lead, which I do, and if you like strong female friendships and a good romance, this is your book. The second book is out, called Find Me Their Bones, and the third book is coming out later this year, called Send Me Their Souls. So the next book on our list is actually from a local author. We had her at last year's book festival. I met her. She's super nice, and this book is so good. It's called Kiss of the Royal by Lindsay Dugas. In The Kiss of the Royal, royals have been battling the forces of darkness for centuries, and how they do this is with a kiss. So during battle, royals can kiss their battle partner to kind of ignite their magic and let them fight the forces of darkness. They can also kiss them to heal, to block curses, to do all kinds of different things. So a royal's kiss has lots of power. I know what you're thinking, but shadow hunters tattoo themselves, so why can't royals kiss people? Think about it. So Ivy, our main character, is of the purest royal bloodline, so she has the most magic out of everyone. But she is on her 5th battle partner, and they can't find anyone else who is strong enough to match her. That is until Prince Zack comes in from a neighboring kingdom and comes in to be her next battle partner. Of course, as it would turn out, these two don't exactly see eye to eye. Ivy believes that there is no such thing as true love, and kisses are strictly for battle magic. And Zack was actually raised differently than normal royals, so his methods are a bit unorthodox, and he absolutely refuses to go along with any of Ivy's plans. But they will have to overcome their differences, work together to defeat the forces of darkness, and hopefully save their kingdom. I know what you're thinking. Sounds a little cheesy, but trust me, it's not. The world building, the character development, the backstory behind it makes it seem so believable and like, yes, this is normal. Like, this is good. And sparkly vampires seem ridiculous at the beginning, but look what happened to that. It has so many of your typical fairy tale elements. There's evil queens and curses and dragons, but it's written so differently that it kind of just like changes everything. And one of my favorite things about it is that there's no longer damsel in distresses. Girls are here to win, and they will get stuff done. I'm telling you, this book is good. Give it a try. If you love fantasy, if you love the idea of fairy tales, but you kind of want to see it turned on its head, if you like a good romance, this is a good book. So the last book on our list today is right up my alley. It's all about a forgotten princess who is rising up to take back her throne from the people that stole it from her. It is called Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian. Our main character, Theo, was 6 years old when her country was invaded and her mother, the Fire Queen, was murdered. The invading Kaiser basically took all of her land, all of her wealth, her throne, her crown, her people, and enslaved her and labeled her the Ash Princess. So for 10 years, she has basically been imprisoned in her own court and has been subjected to violence and ridicule from this new king and his people. And she's watched her people suffered for years. And one night, the Kaiser makes her do something terrible. And with blood on her hands, she realizes that she needs to do something. She can no longer just sit back and survive. So she is going to use everything she's learned by living in the courts to play the game. She is going to scheme and lie and do whatever she can to free her people and reclaim her throne. This type of storyline is very popular in YA fantasy. In fact, you've probably read a story like this before. One thing I've noticed a lot, especially in YA fantasy, is that sometimes the first books have very similar storylines. So you could have things like The Competition or The Lost Princess. But as the series progresses, then that's when they start to change. So you can have the first books be very similar, but the series as a whole are completely different. However, However, Ash Princess really stands out because it is so enjoyable. It is super fast paced. It'll make you just want to fly through the book and keep reading until the very end. It's set in a pretty terrible world. It's definitely brutal and there's lots of violence. Because her country was colonized, there's some really horrific scenes of slavery and racism. So this is probably more of an upper YA book. It's very similar to Red Queen. If you liked Red Queen, definitely give this one a try. I actually liked this one more than Red Queen. I thought it was more fast-paced and a lot more things happen. So definitely give this one a try if you like the darker parts of royalty and court politics in YA fantasy. So those are the YA royalty fantasy books that I have for you today. We will be posting a poster that has more fantasy YA books that deal with royalty and court politics and all of that. If you want to receive a badge for your summer reading program for watching this video, this week's code word is have to. If you want to watch more book talks, you can receive summer reading program badges for each one. You can always go back and watch them, and we have more book talks coming up all about different aspects of fantasy this summer. And until next time, happy reading.